So I didn't plan on filming anything today because yesterday I did my really long 8-hour live stream for St. Jude Children's Hospital that I do every year. That was a big success this year, by the way. We raised over $18,000 for charity. So everybody have a round of applause. Awesome. You're all great. Really fun stream. Had a blast. It's up on the channel if you want to go check it out. But my voice was very shot by the end of it. And I planned on today just like doing rest and just recuperating. And so I'm going to talk kind of low in this one. My voice is a lot better. It's just not at 100% yet. And so we're going to have a late night ASMR kind of style video. But I just got around to watching the new One Piece episode, the one that came out like 2 days ago. But with everything going on, I didn't get a chance to watch it until just now. It's Monday night when I'm filming this. Actually, I have to take out my trash tonight. Huh. Okay, I gotta do that afterwards too. It's trash night. Oh my god, there's so much. It's been a hectic few days. But I just watched the episode, and I realized something that should have clicked a while ago. In fact, we were doing the agenda reverie over on Jay's channel a few weeks ago, and I remember even having a conversation with Jay about this on the reverie. You can go back and check it. But I didn't, like, the cogs didn't connect until, like, just now. York is going to be a God's Knight. She's 100% going to be a God's Knight. She's going to get the Deep Sea Covenant tattoo. She's going to get immortality. She's going to get super strength. So York's going to be able to, like, fight now. And she's also a Vegapunk that has, like, the knowledge of a Vegapunk. That's 1,000,000% going to happen now. And I know there's a lot of other crazy stuff happening in the story at the moment. Like, that's not even like that's something that's like off to the side because like York hasn't really even done anything since the end of Egghead. I don't think we've even seen York. Last time we saw her was when Punk Records was, I think, lifting off from Egghead. She was like blasting her bazooka at it. Like she was like, "Oh no, stop," and it didn't do anything. So I think that was the last time we saw York. And I think when Garling was promoted to Gorosei, he walks into the room of authority and he sits down in Saturn's chair and everybody's like, "What are you doing, Garling? Know your place." And Garling's like, "I'm the new Saturn, so you know your place." And it's like, "Oh boy." And he takes off his shades and he's like, "The Vegapunk known as York will be under my purview from now on." I think that was the last time York was mentioned. And then after that, we go to Elbaf and everything going on with Elbaf, right? So it was like, yeah, okay, that's old news. That's Egghead news. Elbaf is where it's at right now. Okay, so I remember having this conversation with Jay because the whole thing was like, York wanted to be a celestial dragon. And we all thought that was crazy, right? Back when she was saying that shit, because we're like, you're not going to be a celestial dragon. You know, like they're going to, I assumed what, you know, and especially when Garling was saying that, I thought like, oh yeah, come on, York, we'll make you a celestial dragon. Come on into Marijois. And then they're going to like chain her up in like a laboratory and make her like force her to just do, you know, science for evil, right? And not give her anything she was originally promised. Any of that. They're not going to give her anything. And just like, yeah, we're not making you a celestial dragon. And I was like, yeah, that made like York is just an idiot, but York is also a Vegapunk. So it was a little strange, but we didn't know the mechanism, and that's what brought up during Jay's reverie. It was just like, yeah, there's a mechanism now. We understand how this works, and I was like, oh yeah, didn't connect. Like, wait a minute, contract, covenants, brainwashing. This exists now. Oh my God. So now that we understand, and granted, we didn't understand fully what the covenants were back then, but we do now. With the last chapter, we do now, okay? Shanks sat down and explained the whole thing to Gabon. Like, yeah, shallow sea covenant, the bronze package, the lowest level. If you are within range of Emu's power, you cannot disobey them. You have to do whatever they order you to do when you are within their presence. Now, I don't know if that means, like, directly within the presence of Emu or the Gorosei, or just, like, within the perimeter of Marijois. I'm assuming it's probably the perimeter of Marijois, or at the very most, like, all of Castle Pangea, right? Maybe that, or maybe if Emu like directly addresses you, you have to obey. All right? But that's just the lowest level. Then you get up to the deep sea covenant that Harald received, and now we get to see the real horrors of this, where yes, you get super strength and you get an enhanced immortal body that, will regenerate, and you're able to summon the abyss, and you're able to do all of this, but now you are under the control of Emu wherever you go in the entire world. It does not matter. So there is no like rogue God's Knights, like, oh, I'm going to use the abyss and get out of here. No. Emu's the one that gave you that power. You listen to Emu. And we've seen this in the last chapter with Harald literally not just losing his body at first, like his body is moving on its own and cutting people down that he doesn't want to harm, and then his own consciousness, his own sanity stripped away and replaced with like basically not a zombie. That's not how Harald conveyed it, and that's actually a really interesting way that Oda's writing this, because like Oda could just like, I am now soldier of Emu, and not even like have any semblance of Harald's personality anymore. That wasn't the case. Harald still like knew who he was. It's like, I am Harald, I am the king of Elbath, and I worship Emu, the Great One, and I will raise an army for them because that is what they command, right? Sorry I have to kill you, Jarl. Sorry I have to kill you, Loki, my son, but I need that devil fruit in order to make Emu's army happen, so we're gonna do this, right? Like, so that's the way Harald is right now, right? And this was obviously against his will. He fought against this. Like, he had some pretty good willpower. He was fighting against this, and it maybe bought him a little bit of time, just enough to tell Loki like what his final wishes were and for him to go eat the devil fruit and everything. But then after that, he was gone. He was taken over, right? Okay. So going back to York now. York, number one, believes that she is the only Vegapunk left because she checked with Punk Records, remember, that like, oh yeah, Atlas blew up and Edison's gone and Shaka's gone. York shot Shaka right in the head. And then also disconnected Atlas disconnected Lilith, and so York thinks that Lilith is dead. And so York is like, I'm the only Vegapunk left. Now, pause for a moment, because remember that scene when she realized that Lilith was gone and Atlas blew up? She was like, I'm the only Vegapunk left. Did York not know about the cloud, literally the cloud, uploading all of the consciousnesses of the Vegapunks to the cloud? Did she not know that there were like spare body parts like up there in Punk Records? Because that's what happened afterwards. Like, Shaka and Edison and Pythagoras and Atlas, they all like chimerid themselves back together with like different body parts, and that's what they are right now, right? Did York not know that existed? Because she seemed to imply that like, I'm the only one left now. Yeah, no, you're not. You should know that you're not, but whatever. That's a point of discussion we could have, I suppose. But now she's going back to Marijois. I don't think she's going to be like chained up and forced to do science. She's going to get a shallow covenant first, and she's going to be forced to obey Emu, and then she's going to get the deeper covenant maybe later. So she's probably not going to show up in the story for a little bit while all that's going on. Maybe we'll see it in the background and stuff. But like, yeah, we're going to see evil York. That's going to happen now, right? And so you might say, what's the difference? Because in the original scenario, before we understood the contracts and the covenants, she was just going to like be forced to, manufacture weapons for the government and continue the research, like build a mother flame power plant at Marijois and begin to tinker with the ancient weapons and the sky lasers and rebuild like all the stuff that Vegapunk had on Egghead, which she should be able to do just at Marijois completely and utterly for the world government. Well, the difference is, if she was being coerced into doing that, right? Like if the government wasn't going to give her what she wanted, like we're not going to make you a celestial dragon, we're not letting you live in luxury, we're not giving you all these things, you're an idiot for thinking that you were ever going to get these things, we're just going to force you to do it. Eventually, York would have been like, I got screwed over in this deal. I'm going to figure out a way to betray them and get the hell out of there. So she's a Vegapunk. She's super intelligent. So, she would be probably figuring out a way to get out of there to like bamboozle them and escape. But if they do give her everything that she wanted, on top of brainwashing her and having the control with Emu, with the Deep Sea Covenant, like, she literally cannot disobey. And as long as, like, in York's perspective, as long as she gets to eat, like, a mountain of food all the time, then, wait a minute. I just, hold on a second. I just realized something else. It's late. I'm tired. I might be overthinking this. The whole reason York wanted to become a celestial dragon is because they live in absolute luxury, right? Like, they get to eat all the food they want and they get to sleep all day. Wasn't that what York was doing already? What was York doing on Egghead? Her literal job was just to eat a mountain of food. They never ran out of food. They had a magic vending machine that turned, like, water molecules into cheeseburgers, for God's sake. She was never running out of food. And she got to sleep and shit all day. That was her job as the sixth Vegapunk. And she's like, yeah, but if I get to be a celestial dragon, I get to live in luxury. Am I missing something here? What was, I guess, just the aspect of greed? Just the idea of greed. Like, there's always something more, I guess. Maybe they did promise her. Like, maybe they told her all about the covenants and shit. Maybe they already told her. Like, maybe it's like, oh, yeah, you get to live in Marijois and you get to be immortal. Yeah, you didn't have that before, did you? And you get to regenerate. Yeah. And maybe York is like, do I still get to eat all the food and everything? Oh, yeah, we have all the best food. I'm like, all right, sign me up. That actually might make more sense now, because otherwise, in the other scenario, there was literally no difference. Like, whatsoever. Like she was already living. Literally, there's a scene, like, the first time we get introduced to York, she is sleeping on, like, a waterbed in, like, a pool. Like, there's, like, that seems pretty luxurious to me. Anyway, okay. So, evil York. How's this going to go? We got God's Knight York having the brand, new outfit change. Got to have the evil outfit change, because that's a trope, right? And remember, during Egghead, she was, like, very, very clear that she wasn't powerful enough to deal with the Straw Hats. That's why she needed the Seraphim, right? And she had to organize the whole thing with the Seraphim and control them and give them the orders, because she admitted in a straight up fight, I'm going to lose. And we see this, you know, in the story. She gets defeated, she gets chained up, and then eventually, by the time the Gorosei show up and everything, she's freaking out. She's like, oh man, I don't want to die, right? Like, that's York, right? Now, this is different now, okay? So we have York, a Vegapunk, who is already super intelligent, that can, rebuild the power station at Marijois with the fragment of the Mother Flame. In fact, there's a lot of stuff at Egghead that is yet to be resolved. Like, Punk Records flew away, but the entire Labo phase did not float away. Just Punk Records, the upper part of the egg, the top part of the cloud, that flew away, right? But the Labo phase is still there. Hold on, let me double check this. I gotta make sure. Okay, I went back and checked. It's just Punk Records. York specifically was like, damn it, I've been played. They got away with Punk Records. But the rest of the Labo phase, in terms of the power plant, is still there. So the government now effectively just has the Mother Flame, because the Mother Flame was stored in the power plant, which was in the Labo phase building, with the command center and everything like that, right? Like, the same thing with, like, there was the room with, like, the organoids, the medical room, and then the Devil Fruit Research Laboratory, all that stuff. The government effectively has now. Only Punk Records with Vegapunk's brain and the different body parts with the Vegapunks, that's gone. That's rendezvousing with Weatheria at some point, with Horridus and everybody like that, right? Okay. So York just they don't even need to rebuild the power plant then. York can just take the power plant and just move it somewhere else. Move it to Marijois. And then it's there. Okay? And so then you got the God's Knights. There's going to be some big introduction, because we haven't seen them all yet, right? Apparently, the way that the Gorosei explained it was that there were 13 individuals that had, the covenants, like the upper covenants, like I guess the deep sea and the abyssal, the way they phrased that, I'm not really sure if they meant 13 God's Knights and then the 5 Gorosei as a separate category. I like to think that that is the case because I like the idea of there being 13 God's Knights. All right. The other way of looking at it is 8 God's Knights and 5 Gorosei. If I do math right, and I'm not really sure. Yeah, that's right. So, I don't know. 8 God's Knights. How many do we have so far? We have Shamrock, we have Gunko, we have Killingham, we have Summers. That's 4 already. There were others that we saw. Well, Garling got promoted. Garling would have been 5, but now he's a Gorosei, so he's not one anymore. So does he still count as one of that 13, or is it a different category now? Not sure. But either way, we still need to fill out some God Knight slots. And Harold had that tattoo, and then he died, so he forfeited that. We don't know how many openings there would have been. There were God's Knights that were alive during God Valley. That was 38 years ago. They certainly are not all still members. I'm sure some of them have passed or maybe died in other ways. I don't know. Maybe they did something that, pissed off Emu, and Emu, like, ripped away their powers and they went the way of Saturn. That's possible, too. Because while they have the brand, they have to obey Emu's orders. They have to do what Emu orders, but they still have the capacity to screw it up, right? Like, they can still, like, Saturn screwed up and he got killed because of it, right? Like, Emu does not take failure sitting down. Maybe that's why, like, they still have their sense of self, because it's like, hey, I'm going to brainwash you to an extent. You will listen to me. I am the most important thing to you, and you will do whatever you must in order to please my whims. But it's still your decisions and the way that you're going to do that. And if you mess it up, I'm ripping away my powers and you're going to die. Okay? So that could have definitely have happened. And I'm sure Saturn wasn't the only incident where that occurred. Okay? In the last 40 years since God Valley or so, or even the last 900 years, I'm sure that's happened a few times where Emu got pissed and ripped the power away, which now I'm creating a scenario where York, evil York, which York was kind of already evil, even more evil, even though Lilith is supposed to be the evil one. York was the one that was the traitor, right? What if York is the one that messes things up, and then that's the way York dies in the story? Emu, like, rips away her powers and, like, oh, damn it. And then she's like, well, is what it is. And she just turns to dust and she just crumbles and dies. And just be like, well, good. Good. All right, there we go. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just, as one of those weird things, just because just watching One Piece, I'm just like, York's going to turn into an evil God's Knight and fight, I don't know, somebody. You know what I mean? But, like, actually be able to fight now. And, I don't know, maybe even given a Devil Fruit ability. I'm assuming once you get to the abyssal level of the tattoos, of the contracts, the gold package, if it is the one that the Gorosei have, right? Like, so you have the God's Knights that have the silver, and then the Gorosei have the gold. The only real, well, okay, there's two. There's two functional differences between the silver package and the Gorosei, and that's the Gorosei do not age. The regular God's Knights still age. Like, Garling still aged. Probably not anymore, but he did age. And Summers aged as well. And then they also have the ability to turn into their yokai forms, which might have been from eating a devil fruit, or it might have been a devil fruit-esque power that Emu gives to them. Like, now that you have the gold level package, you will not age. You will stay whatever age you were when you were receiving the contract forever. And then I will also grant you the ability to turn into whatever creepy yokai you want. I like to think they get to choose. I like to think that Ethan Barron wanted to be a creepy skeleton horse. And I especially like the idea that Shepherd Jew Peter really wanted to be a sandworm. He was a really big fan of Dune. All right? So, yeah. Obviously, York's not going to get that level because Garling is the one that got promoted. They wouldn't make York a Gorosei, but they were willing to make Harold. They did make Harold a God's Knight with the silver contract, with the Deep Sea Covenant. So York, with all of her knowledge under the thumb of Emu completely, there it is. All right. Well, anyway, that's just something I wanted to make a video on because it just popped into my head. And yeah, just keep that in mind in the background. And who would York fight then? I'm trying to think in this scenario where we have evil, God's Knight York. Let me know. Let me know down below what the battle would be with her powers and stuff like that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go to bed. Just wanted to say all that. Have a good night, everybody. Oh, by the way, speaking of the charity stream, you can still donate, by the way, if you haven't donated yesterday or you missed it for whatever reason. If you still want to donate to St. Jude, you can go ahead. I think the donations were up to like 18,500 last time I checked, so thanks to all those extra donations that came in today. But yeah, I'm going to get going. Teching, signing out. Later, everybody.